Imagine waking up on an ordinary morning, looking out the window and seeing the sea. Not just any sea, an artificial canal of turquoise blue water winding for kilometers, lined with white houses, marinas, restaurants, and children riding bikes along the waterfront. Now imagine that 20 years ago, this place was desert, sand, wind, nothing. This is not Dubai, it's not Abu Dhabi, this is Kuwait. And what you're looking at is Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City, one of the most ambitious and least known engineering and urban development projects in the Middle East. Today, I'm going to take you inside this project, not just to show beautiful houses and photogenic canals, but to understand what lies behind this city, who financed it, how it was built from scratch in the middle of nowhere, who lives there, and what it reveals about the future of urbanism in the Gulf countries. Because Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City is not just a city, it's a bet, a political statement, and depending on how you look at it, a mirror of our time. To understand Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City, you first need to understand Kuwait. Kuwait is a small country, smaller than many regions around the world, but with one of the largest oil reserves on the planet. For decades, that wealth financed one of the most generous welfare states in the world. Free healthcare, free education, subsidized energy, and land distributed by the government to citizens who wanted to build their homes. The problem is that Kuwait has limited high-quality habitable land. The capital, Kuwait City, became one of the most congested and densely populated cities in the region. Infrastructure did not keep pace with population growth, and the Kuwaiti population grew rapidly, from fewer than 1 million people in the 1980s to more than 4 million today, of whom about 30% are Kuwaiti citizens, and the rest are foreign labor. In the early 2000s, the Kuwaiti government began looking south to an arid, flat, and largely uninhabited region known as Al-Kiran. It was government-owned land, close to the sea and far from the capital's congestion. And that's where the idea emerged. What if we didn't just build a city, but created the sea along with it? That idea became the Kuwait Master Plan 2035, a national vision of modernization and economic diversification, reducing dependence on oil and creating new urban hubs. Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City would be the anchor project of that plan, a symbol that Kuwait was capable of doing something no other country had done at that scale, building an entire city with its own navigable artificial canals from absolute scratch. When engineers arrived at the site in Al-Khiran, what they found was virtually nothing. Arid soil, temperatures reaching 50 degrees Celsius in the summer, no fresh water, no infrastructure, no trace of anything resembling a city. The project was designed to cover a total area of approximately 60 square kilometers. Within that area, more than 200 kilometers of artificial navigable canals would be created, excavated directly from the ground and connected to the Persian Gulf, allowing seawater to circulate throughout the city. Each residence would, in theory, have direct boat access to the water. It was Venice meeting the Arabian Gulf. The excavation process was colossal. Millions of cubic meters of earth were removed. Sea access gates were engineered to control water flow, prevent flooding, and ensure the canals remained navigable and of adequate quality. Desalination infrastructure was installed for drinking water, electrical, sewage, and telecommunications networks. Everything was built from scratch. The initial phase of construction took more than a decade, not because of incompetence, but because the scale was genuinely unprecedented in the region. For comparison, the famous Palm Jumeirah in Dubai covers about 5 square kilometers. Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City is 12 times larger. The project was divided into phases. The first phase included opening the main canals, building basic infrastructure, and releasing the first residential plots. Kuwaiti citizens could apply for plots through the government, part of a land distribution policy that has existed in the country for decades. The second phase expanded the canal network and included commercial areas, hotels, marinas, and public spaces. The third phase, still under development, envisioned schools, hospitals, universities, and a large marina for international vessels. What makes this project technically fascinating is precisely its water balance. maintaining more than 200 kilometers of saline canals that are clean, navigable, and ecologically stable in a desert environment with intense evaporation is an ongoing challenge. Water circulation studies were conducted to ensure there were no dead zones where water would stagnate. The canal design was intended to create natural flow, taking advantage of the tides of the Persian Gulf. But a city is not just engineering. A city is people. And this is where the more complex story of Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City begins. The first residents arrived around 2015 and 2016, when the initial homes were completed. They were mostly middle and upper-middle-class Kuwaiti families who had received plots from the government or purchased property in the area. The houses, locally called villas, follow an architectural pattern that blends traditional Arab style with contemporary lines, light-colored facades, large windows, double garages, walled gardens. From the outside, it looks like a dream. From the inside, the early years were far more complicated. For a long time, the city existed more on paper than in reality. Families moved into beautiful homes along blue canals and discovered there was no functioning supermarket nearby. The nearest school was a 40-minute drive away. The main hospital was in Kuwait City. At night, with little movement on the streets, the city felt more like an empty resort than a living place. This phenomenon has a name in urban planning: ghost city. And it is a real risk in top-down projects, where physical infrastructure arrives before social infrastructure. People need more than beautiful canals. They need jobs, commerce, neighbors, routine. The Kuwaiti government was aware of this, which is why the subsequent phases of the project prioritized attracting commerce and services. Over the following years, smaller shopping centers, pharmacies, gas stations, and restaurants opened within the city. An operational marina began receiving boats. Public events started being organized along the canals, regattas, fairs, nighttime festivals, to build a sense of community and attract visitors from Kuwait City, located about 100 kilometers to the north. Today, the city is in a stage that urban planners describe as urban adolescence. No longer a ghost city, but not yet projects of this magnitude do not exist without politics. And Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City has politics in every square meter. The name already says a lot. The city was named in honor of Sabah al-Ahmad al-Jaber al-Sabah, the emir of Kuwait who ruled the country from 2006 until his death in 2020. Naming megaprojects after leaders is common practice in Gulf countries, serving both as tribute and as a declaration of political legacy. The total cost of the project has never been precisely disclosed by the Kuwaiti government. Independent estimates speak of billions of dollars, a figure that, for oil-rich Kuwait, is significant but not absurd. Funding came largely from the country's sovereign wealth fund, the Kuwait Investment Authority, one of the largest in the world, with assets exceeding $700 billion. But here is one of the questions that rarely appears in coverage about the city. Who actually benefits? Kuwait's land distribution policy is historically restricted to Kuwaiti citizens. Foreigners, who make up 70% of the country's total population, cannot purchase property in Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City under the same conditions. There are long-term leasing mechanisms that allow some access for non-citizens, but the ownership structure is fundamentally closed to the majority of people who live and work in Kuwait. This raises a question that is both urbanistic and philosophical: a city that excludes the majority of the people who inhabit the country, a city for whom? It is not a simple criticism. Kuwait has its own internal logic of citizenship and national wealth distribution that differs radically from Western models. But it is a real tension, and ignoring it would be dishonest. There is also the environmental issue. Excavating more than 200 kilometers of canals and introducing saline water into a desert ecosystem has consequences. Environmental impact studies were conducted, but critics argue that long-term monitoring of marine communities in the canals and surrounding areas remains in Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City is not an isolated case. It is part of a broader trend that is redefining what it means to build cities in the 21st century. Across the Gulf, Saudi Arabia is building NEOM, a 170-kilometer-long city in the middle of the desert, with a straight line called the Line that promises to house 9 million people without cars or streets. In Egypt, the problem, as Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City demonstrates, is that cities are not design products. They are living organisms that need time, diversity, conflict, and chance to become real. Jane Jacobs, the American urbanist who revolutionized thinking about cities in the 20th century, was already saying this in the 1960s. Healthy cities need mixed uses, buildings of varied ages, high density, and short blocks that generate movement. Top-down planned cities tend to create environments that are aesthetically perfect and humanly empty. Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City is in the middle of that process. It can still become a vibrant and real city, or it can remain for decades in this stage of urban adolescence. Beautiful Sabah al-Ahmad Sea City is many things at once. It is a genuinely impressive engineering achievement, perhaps the largest water-based urban development built from scratch in arid territory in the world. It is a multi-billion-dollar bet by a small oil-rich country that wants to exist beyond oil. It is a social experiment about whether urban life can be created by decree, and it is a mirror of an era in which money and technology allow us to do things that once seemed impossible, but still do not tell us whether those things are wise. Kuwait will continue building. Whether it will work, no one knows for sure. But the question is fascinating, and the city exists, real, imperfect, filled with blue canals reflecting a 50-degree sun, waiting for more people to decide that the place is worth calling home. If this content made you think differently about how cities are built and for whom, leave a like and share it with someone who doesn't know that Kuwait is doing this.